Hey, it's the Empire, Geobox Empire, Baxter Boxing. Now, man, with this big undisputed fight happening in Australia, George Gambosis versus Devin the Dream Haney, the fight's official, man. It's gonna be happening in Australia, and wild stuff with Devin Haney's team. The WBC 135 world champion. You know, his father had some priors years ago, a felony. And that being said, Australia has ruled that Devin the Dream Haney's father cannot go to Australia. So Devin the Dream Haney is missing his head trainer and his father, Bill Haney. And this is wild stuff, man. This definitely puts a big damper on Devin the Dream Haney on his fight with George Gambosis. But, boxing at the high level, man, it's like a fraternity, man. It's definitely a fraternity. And understand that ZAB Judah, he and his father know Bill Haney, and Devin Haney's father real well, to the point where ZAB Judah's dad and father, they will be going to Australia to help Devin Haney prepare and be his head coach, the replacement temporary coach for Devin the Dream Haney. Now, ZAB Judah, man, he's basically said that, Devin Haney will be undisputed champion of the world. He's been tweeting on Twitter. He's been really supporting of Devin the Dream Haney. He even said that, he's rooting for him, right? So that all being said, man, ZAB Judah, he had an illustrious career during his reign. The guy was always an extremely exciting fighter, fights out of Brooklyn. And this is like a mentorship for Devin the Dream Haney. There's a saying that sometimes there's too many chefs in the kitchen, but in boxing, that's what makes a fighter extremely advanced. Bill Haney got Devin Haney to where he's at right now in the sport of boxing, but ZAB Judah, on his rise to the top, the guy was an extremely elite level fighter, and only good things can happen from Devin the Dream Haney getting coaching and mentorship from ZAB Judah's trainer. So, man, that being said, man, father-son relationships are always a big deal in boxing. ZAB Judah was getting trained by his father. Devin Haney is getting trained by his father. And they know the dynamic, right? So this is a really big deal, man. There's nothing bigger than a bond of a father and son. And Black Americans are supporting Black Americans. I seen Roy Jones Jr. go for Devin Haney. He was saying that people don't get their fair shake in foreign countries. Roy Jones Jr. was saying that, and he's a legend. He's a legend in the sport. Even he was saying that, people just don't get, their fair shake traveling abroad. And he was an all-time great. Roy Jones Jr. is definitely an all-time great in the sport of boxing. One of the few fighters you see who are so advanced but so raw, you can't put your finger on him. Like, his skills were above boxing. It was just pure athleticism. It was insane. So, that being said, man, a lot of people are rocking with Devin the Dream Haney. A lot of people are going to be traveling out there. So, this is going to be a really big fight. Like I said, it's for undisputed. Devin the Dream Haney basically went and did everything that George Gambosis wanted for the fight. The guy, Devin Haney's only taking like $2 million for this fight, around that area. And George Gambosis is getting like $10 million. So he's getting like a fifth of what George Gambosis is getting. And now he doesn't have his father and trainer going to the country as well. So, there's a lot of obstacles in front of Devin the Dream Haney. And, this can either make or break the guy. This can either make him rise to win the fight or contemporary it. But this is a really big fight, man. Like I said earlier, the first 135 undisputed champion of all time will be made in this fight. Devin Haney is extremely young. I think he's like 23 years old. So that being said, he'll be the youngest undisputed champion of all time if he can manage to make it happen. But George Kambosos is coming off that extremely big win off Teofimo Lopez, and he dominated Lopez. Let's not play games. He dominated him. Teofimo Lopez was talking about how he got hit in the throat and he couldn't breathe, and how he has asthma, and how maybe he's not be able to fight again. There's a lot of talk about if Tio can ever fight again at all, right? And the reason why is because George Kambosos beat him so bad. People don't talk about that, but there was talks of retirement from Teofimo Lopez by the way he got beat, right? They showed him in the hospital with the thing in his neck and talking about how he got hit in his throat with like a punch. It was just the wildest, most, weirdest stuff ever. So all that being said, man, this is going to be a really big fight. A lot of people are watching. The world is watching. The government's getting involved, banning people from his group to go to Australia. And it's wild stuff, man. Not to demean Australia or anything, but Australia, if you guys didn't know, it started off as an island for British prisoners. So the island's full of the founding forefathers were thugs. So to simply say that, oh, you can't come here because you committed a crime, well, that's how your country was founded. Everyone here is a criminal. The founding fathers are criminals. So it's just wild stuff that these laws are so stringent. If anything, he should have like some kind of guide at best, because this is a high profile fight. To simply think that a fighter going in with their father can't have some kind of status, that some kind of special status, is beyond me. Mike Tyson has been over in Australia before, and he had a 6-day pass or something like that, some kind of 6-day pass where he can go over there. And Mike Tyson was convicted of rape, and that's facts. So that being said, man, the fact that they're stonewalling Bill Haney, it's not just because he committed a crime, because there's other people who committed crimes who got the green light, but they're trying to make sure, and let's keep it a buck, they're running interference for George Kambosos to make sure his father, Bill Haney, cannot get in. Like I said earlier, Bill Haney, with the mistakes he made in the past, he served his crime. He served his crime, and a reflection of your kids is a reflection of you as a parent. Devin Haney, undefeated, really young, multi-millionaire, he's shaped and molded Devin Haney to be who he is. And, he's got to where he got to because he imposed it on Devin Haney. So Bill Haney is a great father, man. He's a great father, a great man. And, he made his mistakes in the past, but simply banning him in the biggest fight of his son's career, that has to be disheartening, man. You trained your son for this moment and you can't even be there. So this is sort of it's sad, but this is a good story. I mean, this is almost like a movie type thing. Devin Haney should have got a small little production team, because this is like Hollywood. The guys over here taking slave deals over here. Bob Arum getting, his fighters getting paid, because you understand, George Kambosos is not even a top-ranked fighter. So the fact that he's getting paid 5 more times than Devin Haney is shocking. I know they're fighting Australia and everything, but that's not the point, man. The point of the matter is Devin Haney's big name. He's known, and he's the highest paid fighter outside of Gervonta Tank Davis in the 135 division. So Kambosos, while you're fighting in your hometown and everything, he just came off the scene. He came out of nowhere. Devin Haney could fight a bum and get paid, big money. He was getting paid a lot of money under DAZN and Eddie Hearn, right? So, we're going to see how this whole thing plays out, man. Zab Judah is rooting for him. Zab Judah's father, Zab Judah himself, Roy Jones Jr., Johnny Rice, heavyweight contender, is rooting for my boy Devin Haney, and he's been retweeting him, and they interact all the time. They know each other. But yeah, man, we're gonna see how this whole thing plays out, man. But this is gonna be a legendary fight. Like I said, first undisputed champion of all time. So my eyes are on this fight for sure. Big names at 135. You still got the Gervonta Tank Davises. He just knocked out Rolando Romero. You got Vasyl Lomachenko. He's gonna be next. in a fight or two after their rematch if Devin Haney wins. You just got a lot of big names out there. Ryan Garcia, so many big names, and people are fighting each other. So this is good for the sport of boxing, man. But it's just circumstances make it interesting. Anyway, man, let me know you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Empire. Geobox Empire. Peace.